I'm going to cover best practices for bringing data from Quickbase into Microsoft Excel using QNet ODBC for Quickbase. I'm going to assume that you've downloaded the QNet ODBC for Quickbase installer and that you've watched the directions in the Getting Started video. Click on Data, then Get Data from other sources from ODBC. Then find the DSN that you created in the Getting Started video. Click OK. Then expand one of your applications and then choose a table. You'll see a preview of your data and then you can click Load. This is the simplest and easiest way to get your data into Microsoft Excel from Quickbase. However, you end up bringing in all the columns and all the rows. Plus, you're referring to your fields by their field names. This can be problematic in the long term, as often these field names are changed because it's so easy to do that in Quickbase. That's one of the advantages of Quickbase, but it also causes problems when you have an Excel spreadsheet that is bringing data in from Quickbase, and over the long term, you're maintaining the spreadsheet and a field name changes in Quickbase and it breaks your pivot table or other analysis that you've done in Microsoft Excel. I also want you to notice that the result you have here in Microsoft Excel is actually a table. You can tell that because the table design menu up here is visible. Okay, now let's look at a different way of getting data from Quickbase into Microsoft Excel where we can control the number of columns that we bring in, and we can also control their field names. So what I want you to do is go back to the QNet homepage, click on Products, and then scroll down to QNetSQL. You'll want to install this. And also, it would be helpful if you clicked on the product page and watched the QNetSQL video. Here we are in QNetSQL. We're going to use a DSN-less connection. This will make it easier to distribute your Excel spreadsheet to other people so that they can look at your analysis and refresh the data without having to create a DSN. We're going to put our username in here. Then we're going to put in our Quickbase user token. And then we're going to put in our Quickbase server here. Then we click Connect. Now we're going to choose our table, which is the projects table, and then we're going to select the fields that we want. We're going to select a subset. We're going to choose project name, and then we're going to hold down the Shift key, and then we're going to select a bunch of fields. Now, you can also hold down the Control key and select an individual field like that. Now we're going to make sure that we check the Use Aliases in Select Statements, and then we're going to press the Select button. What we have here is a select statement that uses aliases. In this select statement, the aliases are the quoted strings after the word as. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of fields. Those are the fields that we selected. And there's an as before each one. And before the as, we have the actual field name. QNet ODBC for Quickbase has a special feature whereby you can refer to a Quickbase field name by its field identifier. You take the characters FID and then you append to that the numeric field identifier, and that's a field name that QNet ODBC for Quickbase recognizes and allows you to access a Quickbase field. These field identifiers never change. Even if you change a field name, the field identifier stays the same. So the safest way to refer to a field in Quickbase is by its field identifier. You're never going to have your connection to the Quickbase data broken because of a changed field name. But you can also then add an alias so that you have a more human readable name. And between these quotes, you can have anything you'd like, just as long as the aliases here are all unique within this statement, then you're all set. So in this case, QNetSQL is using the current field name as the alias. You can change this if you don't like the current field name. It doesn't matter what you choose here. So now that we have our select statement, we're going to copy it to the clipboard and we're going to bring it over to Microsoft Excel. So here we're going to click on the Data tab. We're going to do Get Data from other data sources, from ODBC. This is just like what we did before, except at this point here, we're going to choose None under Data Source Name, and we're going to click on Advanced Options. And then we're going to paste our SQL statement right here. Because we don't have a DSN, we've chosen none here, we need to provide a connection string to explain to Excel that we're going to be using QNect ODBC for Quickbase and what our credentials are. To create our connection string, we're going to go to the QNect homepage, click on Documentation, and then we're going to scroll down to the section VB.NET, VB6, VBScript, and the second link here is called Creating a Connection String. So the first thing we're going to do is put in our Quickbase server, and as you can see, as we type, it builds our connection string. We're going to use a DSN-less connection, and we're not going to specify a username, and that's because Excel will not accept usernames or any other credentials in the connection string. However, it will accept the user token, which we're going to paste in right here. This depends on you having QNect ODBC for Quickbase product year 2021 or greater. Now we may want to choose other attributes for the connection string. A common one might be to use durations as days. Back at the top of the page, you can see the connection string that we've created. We're going to copy this, and then we're going to go back to Excel and paste that in right here. Then we click OK. Here we need to put in the username. Now let's say we fat finger it. We'll get an error like this talking about a bad username or password. So if you try to click retry, you just end up back in the same place. We get the same error message. If we click edit, we come back to this dialog here, but there's no place to enter our credentials. So we click OK, and then we end up with the same error. So we're in an infinite loop here. I'm going to click cancel and show you how to get out of this situation. You go down here to data source settings. You find the connection that's causing you problems, and you click clear permissions. Now we're going to try the same thing. We're going to click none. Under advanced options, we're going to paste in our connection string. Switching back over to QNetSQL, we're going to take our SQL statement, paste that in here, and then we're going to click OK. And then here, we're going to type in our username correctly without fat fingering it. If you distribute the spreadsheet to other people and they get prompted like this, make sure that they enter in the username in exactly this way and leave everything else blank. We don't have to put in a password or any other information. Now we have a little bit of a preview. We click load. And here we have the data now. As you can see, the field names are the aliases, not the FID16 field names that we're using to talk to Quickbase. So even if the field names in Quickbase change, this will always look the same. You can distribute the spreadsheet now to your colleagues, and they can refresh the data simply by right-clicking here and selecting refresh. If they are prompted for credentials, inform them that they must use your Quickbase username, the same one that you use to create the connection. They don't have to enter in any other information. They can leave the password blank. However, they must have QNect ODBC for Quickbase installed. They need to have the same version of QNect ODBC for Quickbase installed that you are licensed for. In order to find the installer for the QNect ODBC for Quickbase product that you're licensed for, go to the QNect homepage and then type MY in the URL. Then type in your Quickbase username. Hit the Display Licenses button, and the green row here is the one that you're licensed for, and the installer is available right there at that link. So you can copy this link to the clipboard, and then you can send that to your colleagues. That's the installer they need to use, and then they also need to use this username, and that's all the information they need to be able to refresh the data in the copy of the spreadsheet that you send to them. Thank you very much.